So if the New Zealand Herald to be believed, along with a few other news sources now, John Plumtree is all but confirmed. I think they said it's going to be tomorrow. They're going to confirm him as Ian Foster's assistant coach, or at least an assistant coach. I'm sure there will be more than one for Ian Foster's support team, basically with the All Blacks. So I haven't been able to get a definitive this is exactly happening, but there's plenty of news sources. I've seen it on Stuff, which is a New Zealand website here, New Zealand Herald. I even saw the New York Times reporting something about it. So plenty of speculation that John Plumtree will be joining that Ian Foster coaching group, which is an interesting one because I guess having seen Foster get appointed, that seems to be the road to getting the All Blacks top job. So it would probably be a pretty attractive prospect to many coaches around the track. Plumtree is kind of an interesting one because he's had a record as a head coach. He coached the Sharks in Super Rugby. He did his time as an assistant at the Hurricanes with Chris Boyd. Those guys had worked together before. I think was at Wellington where Boyd was Plumtree's assistant. I forget the exact details, but he's done his time as an assistant recently. He's had 1 year with the Hurricanes as his own team when Chris Boyd left. They did okay, but they couldn't quite make it to the final. And now there's a potential that he will join the All Blacks. At least that's what the New Zealand Herald and many other media outlets are claiming is all but confirmed. So it's an interesting one, like I said, to go from a top job to being an assistant. It's certainly a big mindset shift. But like I also mentioned, if your final goal is to potentially become All Blacks coach, this seems to be the right career choice. So, that's Plumtree. Where does that leave the Hurricanes? In a bit of a spot of bother, I guess, because they've got Ardie Savea out for the season. They've got Beauden Barrett leaving for the Blues. Other guys kind of coming and going, and then potentially having to find a new coach like 6 weeks out before the start of Super Rugby, which is far from ideal. I think they said that Jason Holland, who's the assistant, is most likely to step up because you're not going to be able to recruit a coach in that kind of short time frame to get things going for the season. You just want to continue on with whatever plans have been laid. Brad Mooar, what's happening with him? He's another guy who's had an even shorter time as the man in charge. He's the former Crusaders assistant, very successful spell with them. Goes over to the UK and takes charge of Scarlets, gets a start, and then no more than a few months later, it seems like he's been tapped to, and Scarlets have confirmed the interest that the All Blacks have got in him. It seems like, I think they did get a quote from Brad where he was just kind of saying it's something he has to consider, just kind of gave one of those non-committal answers. But it looks like Scarlets are basically looking for some coin to get him out of his contract, which is fair enough. They've gone through the whole process of recruiting him, setting him up, and now he already is tempted to go and leave. It'll be interesting to see how these guys' roles work, who would get what kind of role if they are indeed both appointed, because from all I've read, it looks like they are both being targeted, not just the one. The figure I read was that the release fee they're looking for is around about £200,000 or 400,000 New Zealand dollars. So a fair chunk of change. But we'll see what happens there. The other two guys who are apparently kind of on the radar for being locked in would be Greg Feek, who's been scrum coach with Ireland, so he might be looking after the All Black scrum if he gets a gig, and Scott McLeod to potentially continue on as defence coach. He's the guy who took over from Wayne Smith in 2017. So it's an interesting one to watch. Plumtree, Moore, Feek and McLeod backing up Foster seems to be all the talk in the media. Whether that plays out, whether the All Blacks are prepared, New Zealand Rugby is prepared to part with $400,000 to secure Brad Mooar as an assistant, remains to be seen. Whether these guys are actually keen to leave their top jobs to take up the assistant's role with the All Blacks, it's certainly a hell of a job to get a job with the All Blacks coaching team. So, yeah, very much one to watch. But, yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. I'm sorry if this one's a bit incoherent. My office had another Christmas party tonight, so I have had a few beers. It's a bit smaller this time, though, because it wasn't our whole division. It was just my office. So, a small one for my boss and some of my colleagues. So, yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts. I am going to head off and help my wife cut my daughter's hair before she goes to bed because she needs a haircut. I can hear her screaming in the other room. Everyone take care, and yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.